Okay, so I'm Dr. Kim with Awaken to Wellness Center, and I appreciate you joining me, whether you're on Zoom or whether you're on Facebook. Today, we are going to dive into your mindset and some of the reasons that it matters. And it is more of a workshop style, so stay as long as you want, and then feel free to exit if it's not for you. And one of the main things we're going to do is just be kind. So I'm going to dive into some points today about your mindset. And for most of you who are on here, you're likely a practice member at Awaken to Wellness Center. And at Awaken to Wellness Center, we really help people change the way they eat, the way they move, the way they think, the way they live. And we do this with the foundation of the nervous system, and then we work out from there. And we really help people reclaim their life through their lifestyle. It's been a very interesting year for most of us, including myself. And what this workshop is going to cover is some of the things or trends that we've seen through the year within our office surrounding mindset. And it's been a wonderful year for a lot of people, and it's been a really challenging year for a lot of people. But we're going to cover some of the things to help you really thrive as we transition into 2021. And I'm doing this because I hear so many people unknowingly or knowingly stuck in their stuff or in their mindset from 2020. I've heard over and over again that I just can't wait for 2020 to end. 2020 has been a horrible year. And so my question is, if 2021 is going to be different, why is it going to be different? And are you ready for it to be different? And what has to take place in your mindset to move you from a state of survival, which is where most people are, and help you get to a state of where you're really thriving? And due to the work that I do, I've been able to have some insight into some of the differences of people that really are thriving through this year, and some of the differences with those who are kind of stuck or surviving. And odds are, first of all, this comes nowhere from a state of judgment. It truly comes from trying to help. And we've all likely been at points throughout our year where we're surviving, and then where we've been where we're thriving. And so how do we make the thriving more, right? For most people, around 80% of our culture right now, and potentially more, but likely 80%, is in a state of survival. And so what does survival sound like, or what does that feel like, or how do you even know if you're in it, right? And about 20% of our culture is in a state of really thriving at this time. Most are in the survival. And about 80% of people are really somewhat stuck. And so we want to make sure that where your mindset is actually going to take you where you want to be in 2021, especially if you're one of those individuals wishing that 2020 were over. So let's go into what's kind of happened with a lot of people. This is obviously one of the most unique times in history, and definitely within our lifetime. But what has really happened is the majority of humans have been triggered by something. It is one of the first times that I know of, at least within my lifetime, where the entire world has in some way been triggered. Their values, their fears, their anxieties have all been triggered. And most of us have experienced that at some point through this year, including myself. So what happens when we're triggered as humans, right? We have this innate ability to want safety, to want certainty, to want to be cared for, to want fuel. And that starts even when you're born, right? You want to be held, you want to be fed, you want your needs met. And so for most individuals, at some point through this year, they have been triggered and their core values have been tested. Now, unfortunately, the majority of our culture and of our society does not have the toolbox needed to, one, recognize that that has happened to them, and two, know how to function, thrive, or twist their mindset to be able to move out of that and back into a thriving state. So if we know that nearly every single human being has in some way had their value system tapped throughout this year, then how do we reset that so that you have certainty, control, power, and your needs met again? And that's some of the things that we're going to touch on. So we know that it's possible for you to reclaim your life. We know that it's possible for you to thrive during challenging times. And we know that it's possible that even in a time when the world seems somewhat upside down, you can still go internal, use your toolbox, and go into a thriving state. And so how do you do that? Well, first you have to recognize where you are. So some of the things that may help you, I'm going to go through a list of things that I hear from people who are in a survival state. And again, there's no judgment. We're all going to flip back and forth some between survival and thriving. The difference is, if you feel like a ping pong ball right now, if you feel like the morning headline or the evening news conference at 4 or the thing that somebody says to you ping pongs you between survival and thriving, or more into survival, then you've got work to do, right? So the survival comments that I typically hear are people who are sitting in anger, right? And it's understandable. There is plenty to be angry about if that's what you choose to do right now, but it doesn't serve you, right? People who are stuck in massive amounts of fear. And for those people, I have tremendous empathy. But you can move through that, right? It starts with your mindset. People who are stuck in extremely sad mindsets right now. And for those people, we need to show tremendous empathy, support, and compassion towards them. A lot of people feel lost right now. Some people say they just want out of this current situation. And then some people gravitate more towards, and then pay attention to this, because a lot of people think they're thriving. And when you start to look at behaviors, they're not. So let's say you spend a lot of time on social media. Are you someone, and this is one way you can know where you're at, if you are on social media and the majority of things that you hear, read your title or click through as you're swiping up, have anger faces or frustration faces, or you're one of the people that wants to shame others, you're likely in survival. You've likely been tapped and you are trying to survive, and you have a tremendous amount of fear or anger. If you're one of the people that typically says, if other people would do this, I would feel good again, or I will be happy when this happens. Those are survival tools, right? They are what are designed to help you feel safe, to help you give your control away. It's designed to keep you in the mindset that you're in and to reinforce whatever habit or viewpoint you want to have in the world. But it's really not an avenue of thriving, right? People who are thriving, they tend to be joyful. They tend to have a tremendous amount of gratitude, even in the most challenging times. They tend to have a lot of grace with situations. They tend to be steady. They may have moments where they flip into survival, but they can pull themselves out of that rather quickly. They use powerful words. They will rarely say things like, if you ask them how they're doing, they're rarely going to use words like, I'm fine. They're going to use words like, I'm phenomenal, I'm thriving, I'm awesome. And whether they're like that all the time or not, they know that that triggers their mindset to work differently, right? So they're aware of their words. They control their choices. They may take input from the external world, from people making recommendations or from their neighbor or from their friends, but ultimately they can go inward and make their own decision and feel really good about it. So how do you get there, right? They tend to give back. So when really thriving people are suffering, or when they've been tapped at their core, they tend to just look for ways to give back, right? In every challenging situation, there are the givers that are everywhere. So I ask you, over these next couple of weeks, as we transition into 2021, where are you? Are you sitting in a survival mindset, or are you really thriving? And then what can you do to move towards thriving? Because in thriving situations is where health and joy and fulfillment comes from. And you are capable of doing that. There's a quote that I absolutely love, and it says that fear does not stop death, but it does stop life. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I believe it's the same is true for anger. I believe that fear and anger both paralyze us and keep us stuck. And so how do you move out of fear? How do you move out of anger? And how do you start to thrive amidst challenges? How do some people really go through challenges and they dip into suffering and then they literally explode into something new? Well, there's a few things that I have found from individuals over the years, and I've been in practice now, I believe it's like 17 years. So how do different people live? And I've seen people heal in really amazing ways, right? At our office, we see some people who are borderline surgery with their back or with their neck. We see individuals who have wanting to eat well and never been able to do it before. We've seen people at their bottom just really rise and reclaim their life through habits. And so in that, we've seen some things that have helped us figure out some of the trends or habits that people have when they are thriving and when they want to reclaim their life. So how do you do that? So we know that 2020, for some of us, has been awesome. For most of us, we've been tested. And so how do you transition to 2021 and reclaim your power and reclaim your life? It is possible, and you can do it. So let's talk about how we do that, right? There is no way out of whatever challenge you have right now, but through it. So there's no exit ramp right now that's going to help you get off the track of either misery or anger, but you can start making new habits to get to new places. But you're going to have to go through it to get past it and to reclaim your life. So one of the big topics is really, what do you really believe about health, right? Not sickness, because a lot of people like to go into sickness. What do you believe about health? Do you believe in the ability for you to be healthy, or are you a victim of your circumstances, right? And there are different schools of thought on this. Some people believe that health is an outside in type thing, and some of us believe that health comes from the inside out. I'm one of those that has spent over a decade, nearly 2 decades, learning about why some people are healthy and why other people are not. And I'll tell you, there are trends, and a lot of it is your mindset. And then a lot of it is the biochemistry of your body. So do you fuel your body with foods that help you heal and help you repair? And that is critical. Do you move? Are you 4 to 6 times stronger than what you ask your body to do every single day? You see, when you believe that health does come from choices, when you believe that the body was born to heal and self-regulate and to do the job that you were made to do, which is self-heal, self-regulate, and thrive, when you believe that, your choices are different. You tend to eat better, you tend to move better, and you tend to think better, and you tend to know that there is power within the human body to self-heal and to self-regulate. So you immediately take some of your power back when you recognize you have choices to help this body work well. And that, for a lot of people, automatically moves them into a thriving state, because you see, there is power in choice. There is power in you being able to have some role in the outcome of your life. And you do. You have far more of a powerful role in your life than what you're led to believe on a daily basis. And even what you're told from childhood up. We are trained in our culture to believe that health is an outside-in experience, and we're always looking for something else to save us or to make us healthy, when really it starts internally. It starts with how you think. It starts with how you approach life. It starts with your spine. It starts with your nervous system. And then it starts with creating a healthy environment for those things. So what do you truly believe about health? Do you believe you were born to heal? And if you do, there's a lot less fear around what may or may not happen to your body and in the choices that you make. So the next piece of that is fear itself, right? So fear is often a story that we start to tell ourselves, right? And so what are the stories you tell yourself every day about your life? And are those stories, one, true? And I mean, are they 100% true? Or are the stories that you see in your community and in your world and the perception that you have about the world, is that story really serving you or not? Is that story really keeping you safe in whatever it is that you need to reinforce the belief systems that you already have? Are your belief systems really serving you? Are they allowing you to thrive, or are they helping you to just simply survive? Do the belief systems that you have about the world look in a way that brings on more anger or more stress? And so one of the ways that you know that is when you look at the world, do you tend to see good? You see, a lot of people tend to see bad. They tend to look for it, and then they try to reinforce it. They're constantly arguing about either political or issues or things that are really in some way outside of their control, because all you can control is you, right? So if Each of us would show up differently, then the world would ultimately look different. But for most people, they're so stuck in their own story of needing to reinforce whatever belief systems they currently have, they can't even think outside the box that there may be a better way. And oftentimes that better way or new way could lead to freedom from just surviving and moving into thriving. The other part of that is, what stories do you tell? And I think this is really important right now. So many people right now, and think about this, how often in your day are you talking about something like COVID related? If you are talking about that nonstop, it is a massive challenge with our world right now. But if you're spending 80, 90, or 100% of your energy right now on that topic, it is a topic that is intertwined with massive amounts of stress, sometimes conflicting information, always changing information. And if you are putting all of your energy and focus into that right now, I want you to think about what you're missing in the rest of your life. Because all the joy that was in your life at one point is likely still around. All of the hobbies and things that you loved to do or wanted to learn about or places you wanted to visit, they're all still around. Can you dive into learning more about different things? Can you put your energy into something that's not related to that? Because that story is 24/7. It's not disappearing. And I promise you, if you take one day break from that conversation, it will still be there tomorrow. But you may be healthier because you've chosen to put your time and energy into something that is actually fueling the world the way you want it to be, or the hobby that you want to have, or the joys you've had in your life, your whole life. Can you dive back into some of those things? And then keep your story about what you want to see in the world. Maybe you set boundaries about how often you can actually talk about that topic. And I assure you, if you do, in the beginning, you're going to have moments of like, I don't even know what else to talk about. I don't even know what else to think about, because it's all that's been talked about now for about 9 months. Can you shift out of that conversation and leave that circus and that stress and that conversation over here for just a little bit, so that you can allow your mind to open up with what else is possible in the world and what else may be good or thriving in the world? It's okay to take breaks from that. So it's really important, the story that you talk about and the story that you think about and the story that you project into the world. Is it absolutely true? And is it reflective of what you want to see in the world? The other component to this is really your values. The individuals I've seen right now that are really thriving are values-driven individual. And so what does that even mean, right? There are words out there that really can sum up what is most important to you, right? And I'll give you an example. My values are health and family and freedom, right? So, and they have been for a long time. So I'll give you the example and then we can talk about other ways to do it. Anytime that you feel that you're in a survival state, or you feel fear or anxiousness or anger rise up, if you can get back to your values, then often it directs you of where you need to go, right? It's your compass of where you're going. And you have the ability to absolutely redirect your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and your actions. And typically, if you go back to your values, you can do that. So if at any point in my life I'm tested, I can go to those 3 words, and they represent very big things for me in my life. And I can make a decision about where to move or pivot or what to think about or what story to tell. Because if every action, if every word, if every story, if every habit that you have fuels your values, then your compass is always pointing to a place where you'll thrive. Because then your life is representative. It's a representation of what you want the world to look like. And your world will likely feel better, function better, and move into a state of thriving. right? So there are all kinds of words that people use for core values. There's authenticity, there's achievement, there's boldness, there's compassion, there's challenge, there's citizenship, community, competency. I mean, it goes on forever. Happiness, honesty, faith. What are your words? And if you can come up with your 3 words that really sum up what are most important to you, then they can forever be your compass to move you towards where you thrive. Because if every decision, word, and choice you make fuels your values, I assure you, your stress level goes down and you move into a state of thriving, not just surviving. So if you don't know your values, maybe between now and 2021, it's a perfect time to define those for yourself and use those as your compass every day about what you eat, about what you read, about how you move, about what you do or you don't do, about who you talk to or you don't talk to, about all the things that form your habits. Are you values driven? And life gets really simple when you are. The next piece to this is, what are your habits? Okay. Your habits that form your lifestyle. Yes, without a doubt, how you eat and how you move are part of your habits. But even more importantly, in this day and age, one of your habits is what you read. And one of your habits is where you spend your time. If you are spending a tremendous amount of time right now on social media or in the media, and you're constantly reading what's on social media or what's in the media, you have a much higher likelihood that you are in a survival mindset, not a thriving mindset. And it is a constant trigger right now for fear and anxiety and polarization. And I encourage you very much, if you have a lot of stress in your life, if you feel as if every day is a push through, if you're on that roadmap of shaming and judging and angry and tired and I'll be happy when other people do this, I assure you, you will reclaim your life far quicker by separating from some of those things. And in the beginning, if you are really used to being on those things and constantly swiping up, and it's almost like you don't know what to do when you're not looking at your phone, it'll be challenging. And it's not impossible. I recommend blocking it on your phone. I recommend removing it from your phone, because it's so habitual and you're trained right now to constantly swipe up that if you don't remove it, 5 minutes turns into 10 to 20 to 30, 40. And how much time are you allocating towards that? Now, if it fuels your life, that's one thing. But for most people right now, news and media, social media, all of that tends to keep them stuck and fearful. I assure you, you can check in briefly, figure out what you need to know, and then step back out again, and you won't miss very much. And you'll get more focused and lean inward to your life. So leaning in is another habit, right? Leaning in to whatever you're doing at that time and being 100% conscious with what you're doing will also pull you out of a survival mindset. So what I mean by that is, if you are with somebody, if you're talking with somebody, that you are truly present with that person, or is your mind drifting towards back into survival, safety, and fear? Is your mind drifting towards 30,000 other things that you want to get done? Are you truly present in the things that you're doing? Are you truly present with your family? Or are these things around all the time? Being present and leaning in to the people you're with, the people you're connected with, to the habits and lifestyle that you want to create, will create absolutely different habits than individuals who are externally triggered all the time by what's going on in the world. The other piece that I want to talk about is internal and external driven. So one of the most challenging things I see with people right now is, yes, if other people did this, I'd be happier, or I'd be safer, or I will be happy when, right? There's always this piece, I will be happy when COVID is over. I will be happier when my daughter or son does this. I will be happier when this occurs. You are wishing your life away and missing moments where you could be happy. Why not choose to be happy right now? Why not choose to show up differently right now? Why not choose to come from a place of empathy and joy and grace and gratitude right now? The circumstances, I'm telling you, the circumstances in your life will never be 100% perfect unless you see them as perfect. Do you see every challenge as perfect because it's an opportunity for you to grow or learn or suffer and then grow out of that? I mean, believe me, everybody's been triggered right now in some way. And those who have, some of the people who've had the biggest challenges in their life have the biggest toolbox to thrive right now. All of the things that have happened in your life have brought you to where you are right now. And I assure you, if you start looking back through your previous challenges, you have a massive toolbox of things you can pull from to thrive and to grow from and to use to help you not just survive right now, but thrive. You have a toolbox. I encourage you to use it. Is it visualizations? Is it affirmations? Is it your word choices? You know, it matters the words you use. Are they just fueling words? There's words that like really fuel a room. And then there's words that just suck the life right out of it. What are you using in your daily life? And are they thriving words? So you have those choices and you have that ability. And when you're internally driven, so when things get challenging, you look in at how you look at the world, and you make sure that if you want to see more joy in the world, you give joy. If you want to see more peace in the world, you be peace. If you want to see more people thriving in the world, then lift people up, right? You have the ability to be what you want to see. And I'm asking you right now, because I believe that if we're going to thrive in 2021, it is going to take every single human being rising up to be the best versions of themselves. And that you have a responsibility to do that. You can be the healthiest version of yourself. If you have not started moving since March of 2020, it's time to get on board. If you're not fueling your body with really healthy foods, come and jump in with us, because it matters and it works. And I'm telling you, it creates more power and health and vitality in your body than not doing it. There's never been a more important time for you to choose health and for you to choose wellness and for you to rise up and be the best version of yourself. So if you want things different in 2021, go in, look inward, change the mindset that you have, change the words you use, change your definition about health, change where you're allocating your time, get interested in other people, start reading books. Do whatever it takes to get yourself out of the world of media and get your brain and get your body healthy. One, it's critical that it's done right now, right? Our culture doesn't tend to be the most healthy. Now, my office, the people I take care of tend to be the healthiest. But I'm telling you to rise up and take your power back in the way that you think and the way that you live and become internally driven. Because externally, there is not much fueling you right now. It keeps you stuck and it keeps you in suffering. So go in and change you from the inside out so that you can be the best version of yourself. This world needs you to do that. And if you need help doing that, reach out. There's lots of ways to do it. The other component to this, we're almost finished, but the other component to this is empathy, right? When you start to feel angst or anger, or being or judging or shaming, or if you are yourself start to say things like, I should have, I should, are you shoulding all over yourself? Then please show empathy to yourself and show empathy to the world. Because I believe that when we rise up and start to be empathetic for those that think differently is when you can heal. For instance, and I'm not trying to create a debate here, I'm just giving you two different examples. There's a lot of people right now very, very anxious, right, about losing rights. Rightfully so. There's a lot of people right now super anxious about whether or not people are wearing masks. Rightfully so. What if instead of battling and judging and being angry about those two issues that just keep resurfacing, what if we had empathy for both sides? Because somewhere both sides are likely right at this point. But what if we showed empathy and interest in why someone thinks that way versus shaming and judging and putting down and just keeping ourselves safe in our own story? Don't you think we'd move forward? So can you show empathy? Can you have discipline? And I know you can. Most people sell themselves short. They should all over themselves, and they don't honor that they actually have discipline. You have it. Can you show discipline and check yourself off of media and social media if it's running your life? Can you show discipline and choose habits every day that fuel you? There is no healthy habit that's too small to start with. If it's an affirmation a day, if it's drinking water, if it's exercising, if it's eating fueling foods, can you commit to one day and then do one day more? And I know you have the discipline to do that. And the day that there's a setback, instead of shooting all over yourself and saying, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done that, can you just get right back on track and skip that stage? Because then you will thrive. And you'll have one minor mishap or setback or whatever you want to call it, misstep, and you'll be right back on track instead of months or weeks of suffering from one thing. Can you have discipline? Can you have empathy? And I know that you can. Can you have self-awareness that if it's a hard day, you reach out for help, but you have enough self-awareness to know that these are moments of survival with lots and lots of time of thriving. And you can have both. You will likely shift into some survival habit, but when you have discipline and empathy and self-awareness, you can pull yourself right back into thriving. And I know that you can do that. I'm asking you to take massive action for 2021. And I'm asking you, instead of looking external for something to save you or something to make you feel good, to go in and to choose habits that will fuel your life and change your outcome for 2021, to get you off the track of suffering and move you into thriving, which is what you were born to do. It's what the world needs you to do. And so I'm asking you to become the best version of yourself and to commit hard to doing it. And I'm asking you that if you need help, you reach out, whether you message me through Facebook or whether you call our office or schedule an appointment or whatever it is. Awaken to Wellness Center is here to help you. We are here to give and to love and to serve and to help you thrive, because we believe that inside you is the ability to live your best life. And I'm hoping that you'll join us in 2021 as we commit to helping individuals reclaim their life and become the strongest version of themselves. Thanks.